Hello, this is a SharePoint Framework and JavaScript Special Interest Group biweekly sync. It is March 28th, 2019. Another month of 2019 down. Just a bunch more to go. So our agenda for today, engineering update, as always, from SharePoint Framework, then patterns and practices program updates across our various offerings there. And then 3 great demos today. The first from Sergei. He's got a really cool, I'll call it a tool, but an extension that allows you to get types, TypeScript types for SharePoint items. Very cool thing. Alex has a really neat page section navigation sample he's written there. And Joao has written a really cool React tree org chart. And I'm excited to see that. We've been trying to get him on the call, and I've been failing at scheduling that. So excited to get him on the call and see that demo later today. But before we get started, just real quick, do want to remind folks, yes, we have heard of Microsoft Teams, and we will switch over just as soon as all its capabilities meet our needs for meetings, which will be hopefully very soon, but we can't quite do it yet due to some of the issues around large presentations with divisions between presenters and attendees, and then allowing different folks to be able to present. Yeah, the issue with Teams live events is really that we want to allow folks outside of Microsoft to be presenters, and last time we checked, that capability wasn't really there. You had to be in the org and so forth. So we'll see what we can do. There are some limitations, but we are keeping an eye on that. So we are aware of Microsoft Teams, and we'll switch just as soon as we can.
And quick comment, sorry, Patrick, jumping on Jim has a comment there. Yes, we are aware of the Teams live events as well, and that's not suitable for the scenarios as well. So trust me, we know how this thing works, but we'll do it when the time is right. So, sorry, Patrick. Now I'm messing up.
Yeah, you really, I mean, I got to kind of get back into it now,
yeah,
but that's cool.
Sorry for that.
Let's take it from the top. We're starting over. Not really. But a lot of times we get asked for opportunities to participate in the how do you get more involved in PnP? I want to be more involved in PnP. How do I do that? Well, we've got a lot of ways to do that. One of the best ways, in my opinion, is to do demos on various this call, of course, or the other special interest group call, or even the monthly call. And those demos, I think, really do a lot of things. We all learn something from it. You get to show off the cool work you're doing, and we all get to benefit from kind of what you've learned about working with either SharePoint Framework or any of the @PnP offerings. So, of course, those demos could be web parts, application customizers, provisioning, or really anything else around those topics are always great. And then any of the PnP offerings, if you have demos around those, so exactly PnP JS or the CLI or the reusable controls or the Community Yeoman generator. Love to see those demos. Just please reach out to Vesa or myself, and we'll get you scheduled. And I do apologize. I guess a couple people have tried to reach out to us, and we've missed them. And if you've reached out once and we didn't get back to you, please reach out again. It's not us ignoring you. It's probably just we've missed it in the stream of all the things coming at us. So please just reach out again. Remind us you want to do a demo, and we'll definitely get you scheduled. We absolutely want to get that done and make that happen. So also as well, you can contribute on GitHub by reporting issues, submitting pull requests, and helping with issues and questions, and then feedback across all these things. How are the calls going? The documentation needs. Where can we help? Let us know places we can have additional impact for your development lives. And then, of course, positive feedback is okay, too. And just as a reminder, we're still kind of seeing this. This isn't obviously everybody, but it's happening enough. I'm going to keep mentioning it. When you are providing feedback, even feedback around bugs and things you found, please keep it positive. Please keep it constructive. There's no point in sort of yelling at us or being mad at us because we're all volunteers and we're all doing this in our free time. So, just try and keep that positive. Understand that if you find an issue, we didn't put it there on purpose. We didn't put it there just to make you mad, and we'll do our best to get it fixed as quickly as we can. So let us know about the issue. We absolutely want to hear about the issue. We absolutely want to get it fixed, but do keep those reports positive and constructive, and that'll help us all work a little bit better together. Moving on to updates from SharePoint Framework. Vesa.
And let me unmute myself so you can hear me right. Just double checking.
Yep, we got it.
Excellent. So most likely there's going to be an audio hiccup. That typically happens when I start talking within 2 minutes, but let's see how that goes, and I'll be back online in a second. A few things from the SharePoint engineering side. So I want to keep this section relatively brief today because we have 3 demos coming up as well. But just remind us, HKMS SP DevDocs, the documentation, we are already past 1 million views during March into dev documentation, which is cool. So there's useful guidance over there, and something is missing, please let us know so we're able to address those. HKMS SP Dev videos for the video recordings, the community call recordings, demos, and all of that stuff. A lot of stuff happening there all the time, crossing 10,000 subscribers relatively soon, which is really cool. And HKMS SP Dev issues reporting off the issue list. So we know that if something isn't working, so we can actually fix that for you. So good suggestion, by the way, Hugo, related on being nice. Now, few kind of announcements from the engineering side of the things, so not technically from open source side of the things. SharePoint Framework 1.8 came out 2 weeks ago on Thursday. So 2 weeks ago within the community call, we were saying 1.8 comes out super soon, but we didn't say when, and then 2 hours later it was out. So it's now 2 weeks from the SharePoint Framework 1.8 release, and this supports TypeScript 3.x, it supports Office UI Fabric 6.x, it supports plenty of other stuff as well. So a lot of enhancements like the GA of the Themes tab development using SharePoint Framework, and GA of application pages and isolated web parts, and all of these things are still evolving gradually because it's a combination of the SharePoint Framework client-side bits, which were out, and then the server-side bits which are rolling out as well. But have a look on the updated guidance and the release notes for all of the details what's available. And if there's any issues, please use the issue list related on those. And the second thing what I wanted to kind of remind everybody, because well, we will keep on repeating this story. If you're looking into having example content, example tooling, example web parts, example site collections, and all of that for your demos, go to the provisioning.sharepointpnp.com, and this site is there for you to actually provision SharePoint lookbook kind of modern portals. So you have a starting point for your modern portals, including example documentation, documents, example news articles, and all of that. So you can really easily build demo environments or a structures to play around to understand how modern SharePoint actually works. And this only requires that you're a tenant admin. Well, right now it requires that you're a tenant administrator of the tenant which you're using and applying these, so relatively high permissions. But especially if you're using, for example, Office 365 dev tenants, which are free for all of the developers, you can, or if you don't have, go and get one, and you're able to fill up that tenant with an example cool portal content using this provisioning the SharePointPnP.com environment. Now, this is in public preview currently. We're still seeing some exceptions here and there and adjusting those. Few reminders on when you're using this tool. Have a look on pre-requirements on the template. So as an example, if you are applying SharePoint Starter Kit, there is a pre-requirements that the application catalog exists and that the tenant admin isn't term store administrator. Otherwise, provisioning will actually fail. And we're seeing a lot of people unable to actually read the pre-requirements and apply the pre-requirements currently. So we'll work on better exception handling, more clear messages around those, because we can, well, you will get a nice exception message with a stack trace, which might be terrifying, but it actually, the information is inside there what was missing, like app catalog is missing, and that means that we can't actually deploy custom learning solution or whatever solution to your tenant. Now, but please do give us feedback around this one, and we keep on evolving this one in the future as well. Few things related on the SPFx. Also, the usage is growing rapidly still, so we're seeing actually growth even further, faster growth on the adoption of SharePoint Framework, which is really cool. The SharePoint Framework is being used in both modern sites and also in classic sites. So we're seeing usage in the modern portals, where you're seeing the SharePoint Framework usage also in the classic publishing sites. If possible, we absolutely recommend people to use the modern communication sites, but we do also understand that there are limitations which we do need to address in the future. Now, Good. So a quick kind of a update on the roadmap. So I didn't actually have any specific here, but this is kind of high-level thinking on what we're looking into doing next, because the 1.8 came out 2 weeks ago. Last week we had an MVP summit where we actually also shared some of the insights around what we're planning to do next, but some kind of an ideas what's happening next related on SharePoint framework development. So 1.9 is planned to get released around May timeframe. We have two big conferences, or three different big conferences actually in May. We have Microsoft Build in Seattle, then we have SharePoint conference in Las Vegas, and then a European Collaboration Summit in Wiesbaden, Germany, which is in Frankfurt. We are looking into doing general availability of the library components. That's now in preview, which is really cool. Additional content extensions for modern pages, so basically additional SharePoint framework extensions to be able to overwrite, let's say, navigation nodes or navigation elements, or the whole navigation and so on. Additional SharePoint extensibility points across Office 365. So we talked about this one a few times already, and we actually even had a survey related on what if we would offer SharePoint framework as the development tooling for Office add-ins. And we're looking into moving all of this forward next in the plans. CSP, content security policy settings in a tenant level. So you're able to basically say that, well, this is the set of domains where it's safe to load JavaScript files, and if the SPFx components are trying to load JavaScript files from anywhere else, that is not allowed based on the browser settings, or it's a combination of a server-side and a browser settings. We're also looking potentially open sourcing the out-of-the-box Yeoman generator, which will then mean that we need to talk how do we do that with the PnP SPFx Yeoman generator. Do we combine them? Do we actually make them separate? And how do we do that in the future? Now, no exact lockdown plans, but all of these are subject to change, but giving you some sort of an idea what are we planning to do next. And by the way, I'm seeing quite a lot of discussions in iWindow. I will get back on the chats in a second. Also, other topics bubbling under: store and app store story for SharePoint framework that is being worked on. I cannot give you an ATA right now on that one because I don't want to promise anything which we can't keep. Branding improvements in modern sites absolutely coming. Community root site collection, comify root site collection of the tenant. So basically make your root site collection, existing root site collection in your tenants as a communication site. So really kind of modernize the root site collection as well. And that's coming up as an API and a commandlet relatively soon. But that's pretty much quick level, high level discussion on what are we planning to do with SharePoint Dev next. Obviously, SharePoint design and actions, SharePoint script actions, improvements as well. But looking into this, this actually looks pretty nice, and getting the more and more capabilities on the SPFx and additional extensibility points, super important, and also doing potentially Office add-ins in SPFx. That's super exciting as well. But whenever these plans are getting more clarified, we will absolutely cover them in these calls, so you'll be up to date on what's actually happening. But Patrick, throwing the ball back to you.
So quick updates on the PnP offerings. So patterns and practices JavaScript library. We did release, look at all the rabbits running around. We did release on March 21st a sort of a middle of the month release to kind of do a roll-up fix for some of the issues folks found with the client-side page once we rewrote that block of code. Thanks to everybody who reported those issues. Appreciate it. I knew we wouldn't get that perfect on the first try, but we got those fixes in, and there's actually a couple more fixes coming in the 1.3.2 release, which will be in April 5th. Specifically around setting the banner image. I spent a couple days learning exactly how that all works. We'll also have increased graph coverage thanks to Simon, and updates on a couple other issues, or updates from issues, bugs, and things like that. And then a few new features sprinkled in there as well in the April 5th release. So that'll be coming out very soon. And then as well, lots of work behind the scenes on 2.0. I'm happy to report the bulk of the rewrite work is done, and so now we can start peppering in some of the enhancements we've talked about. If you have things you'd like to see in 2.0, do please submit an issue to the issues list. You can just mention in there, I think this is a roadmap item. We'll get it labeled up and tagged correctly, and we'll have that discussion. And we are aiming to have the release of the 2.0 beta around Collab Summit time, European Collaboration Summit, which is the end of May. And we'll as well, of course, with that, have all the demos and discussions and documentation updates and so forth. So thanks again to everybody that's contributed, whether those were pull requests or reporting issues, very much appreciated by me and the entire team. So thank you very much. You can follow the hashtag PnPJS on Twitter, and you can follow me at MediocreBowler on Twitter. I don't tweet a ton of stuff. It's all generally PnPJS related, so that's a good way to keep up to date. Office 365 CLI updates. We've got a new version 1.15.0 with commands for upgrading the SharePoint framework projects to 1.8, which is the latest SharePoint framework release, as well as managing the team's apps and settings, removing lists and site columns, and then undeclaring records. In progress, we've got a bunch more commands, Teams, Flow, Power Apps, and SharePoint. And if you need to install it, there's the command line there. So if you haven't checked out the CLI, please do. It's a great cross-platform way to manage your SharePoint deployments, manage your SharePoint farms, generally in the cloud, of course. And this new version 1.15 has a lot of great functionality in it, especially the upgrading the SharePoint framework project stuff. That's a very cool feature that really can help take your older projects and update them quickly into the latest and give you the latest capabilities and features without you having to go through and do all that yourself. So great tool for that alone, and then come for that and stay for all the other great features and abilities of the CLI library. You can follow the hashtag Office 365 CLI on Twitter. There's a Gitter channel, and as well the docs, aka.ms/Office 365 CLI, will fill you in on all the great capabilities of this tool. So definitely check that out. The reusable components do have updates here. So we've got new controls, a rich text control. Special thanks to Hugo, I think, for writing that one and adding that one into the library. Very much appreciated. And then upcoming work, processing pending PRs, and then continuing harvesting the first-party web parts into the open source controls library. And for folks not familiar necessarily with the reusable controls and what they are, there's two separate packages you can use. The first is property controls, and those property controls are designed to work in the edit pane of your web parts, so give you nice things like taxonomy pickers and list pickers, people pickers. And then the React content controls are designed to work in the body of your web parts and display various things. So you've got cool things like maps, graphs, charts, and just body controls, styling controls, things like that can be very helpful. All of these are styled with the Office UI fabrics. You're going to get a great out-of-the-box look with very little effort on your part. So you can grab these controls, drop them into your projects, and you're off and running. So definitely check those out. Two links down there at the bottom. The first to github.io SPFx property controls, and then controls React. I should always mention these are both React-based control libraries. And two links down at the bottom for more information. Stepping then into the Community Yeoman generator. So this is a open source Yeoman generator built on top of the out-of-the-box SPFx Yeoman generator. So using this generator will get you a quote-unquote real SPFx project with all the same dependencies and underlying files, build processes, and so forth. But it also gives you an enhanced experience, the ability to add different frameworks, the ability to automatically pull in various libraries such as PnP JS and a few others. So definitely a great way to, again, jumpstart your projects with some of the boilerplate stuff. Saves you a little bit of time, gets you a nice setup, and then as well, kind of the ability to use some of these other frameworks can be invaluable for folks who want to use those things. And you can, of course, auto-populate the Office 365 CLI, the various controls, as well. Updates, this last release, 1.7, we're now under the hood. It is using the 1.8 generator, so it's going to be using the latest SPFx generator as its base. And then as well also includes updates to the latest for the PnP JS, the controls libraries, and the CLI. In progress, the ability to select various TypeScript versions for new projects, as well as the modularization of gulp file injections. So that is work that is in progress. You can always install the latest using the command line there, aka ms PnP generator for the docs, and hashtag PnP SPFx on the Twitter. So, getting into the demos, before we start with the demos, Sergei, if you want to start taking over the presentation, I'll kind of talk for just an extra second. All those projects across the PnP offerings, very happy to accept your pull requests, your issues, any feedback you might have. So on any of those areas, do please check us out, and happy to have your help, happy to have your feedback, and absolutely if you're having trouble or if you're stuck, please do go ahead and report an issue, and all of us across all the projects absolutely want to hear from you. So thank you to the folks that have already done so, and look forward to hearing from the folks that may be getting involved in the future. So Sergei, I have got looks like a completely black screen from you.
Yep. Hello, everyone. Now you should see it.
Yep. Now I got it. Take it away, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for this opportunity to show the demo. A real quick introduction. So my name is Sergei Sergeev. I'm SharePoint and O365 developer and consultant. Office development MVP. Yeah, right. And most of the time I work as independent contractor. However, recently I've started a new brand and company called Mastaq. So I'm going to develop it, and in future I'm planning to sell some things for SharePoint, of course, under this brand. So in my demo, I want to show you SharePoint typed item that's VS Code add-in I've created recently. Fortunately, that's the only slide I have, so let's go ahead and see the demo. Okay. I have a website, team site, Kung Fu Gophers. I know probably they're not so powerful as Warrior Horses by Chris Kent, but anyway. I have a list called upcoming events here. And imagine that you have a task to create a web part, SharePoint framework web part, to show the data from this list from upcoming events. And I have prepared some very basic SPFx React web part, and I've added a code which gets all items from the list using SPFx native way, using SPFx client, and using PnP JS, of course. And here you see that, let's say I get only the first one, the first item, and I want to show something, let's say title. And both of examples have one issue, that this item has any type. So what does it mean? It means that my item object has any properties. I can type something like this, or I can type, for example, if I want to display, let me actually start and serve. If I want to display, let's say venue, right? I should write venue like this. And the issue here is that we do not have IntelliSense from VS Code. We do not have build time checking from TypeScript compiler, and in general, this pattern considered as bad practice for TypeScript development, and you should avoid using any. Fortunately, you can fix it very quickly by introducing a new interface. Let's call it upcoming events like this, and we can include, let's say, title and venue here, right? And I should change this any to upcoming events, and now I have IntelliSense and all good stuff. And if we, let's go, and I have hosted Workbench here. Let's refresh the page. And I have the venue is the big oak, right? Right, that's right. And if you want to display any other field like description, etc., then you should type another field under this interface, etc., etc. And this process quickly becomes routine. And that's the reason why I've created SharePoint typed item, a Visual Studio Code extension, which automates the process of creating such kind of interfaces for using them inside SharePoint framework with PnP JS or using SPFx client, it doesn't matter. So how to use it? First of all, let's go ahead and install it. You should search for SharePoint typed item. I have it installed already. Now let's go to, let me save it, and let's go to VS Code settings.json. You should manage settings for the extension under VS Code settings.json or in a separate file. You have two options. Let's go ahead and add new configuration for this extension under settings.json. So there is an entry, and you also have an IntelliSense here. You should provide a few required properties like site URL. So I'm going to use my Kung Fu Gophers website. You should also provide an output path. Let's say I want to generate my interfaces under src/generated. And also I should explicitly specify which lists or content types are also supported, which lists, in other words, for which lists I want interfaces to be generated. So in my case, I'm going to generate an interface for my upcoming events list. So I'm going to use URL settings and list/upcoming events like this, as far as I remember. Yep. And basically, this is it. That's the minimum configuration you should provide in order to make it work. Now call your VS Code command palette and type SharePoint and select Generate Interfaces. If you're running for the first time, it will ask you for authentication details. You see it supports on-premises as well. I'm using online here, so I select SharePoint Online. I select, let's use admin authentication, and let me provide my authentication details like client ID and client secret. In just a few seconds, right? Like this. Now in the bottom you see this flashing message saying that it was generating interfaces, and finally I have this folder and subfolder, and I have a file called upcoming events. So if I open, I see that it generated for me all the fields I have in my initial upcoming events list. So now I can simply remove this interface completely, and instead I'm going to use upcoming events like this way. And of course I should provide an import statement. Now let's save. And now if you type item dot, and you see that it shows you IntelliSense for all the fields available, so I can show description, venue, etc., etc. If you have a need to, let's say, add a new column, let's add hyperlink field and call it, let's say, my info, for example. Save it. And let's add some actual URL here. For example, HTTP, some URL, and please go here, save. So I've added a new field, and currently my upcoming events interface doesn't have this field included. So I should again call the command palette and select generate interfaces once again. And okay, of course there is an error. Yeah, occasionally it happens if we are running gulp serve. So let's simply try it once again. So this time it worked. I have my interfaces regenerated, and now I can use it such a way. My info dot, let's say I want to output description. Let's save it. let's say the build is completed. Yep, and let's refresh our web part. And now I have my description from the link I've just added, right? There are additional options you can configure here. For example, if you don't like the file name, you can change it to, let's say, EI coming events. Click Save and click Generate Interfaces once again. And this time it should change it to I upcoming events. Okay, yeah. You see this new name, and you should fix it here and here and here. Additionally, you can provide filters for fields. If you don't want all fields to be included, you can exclude hidden. You can also exclude field by internal name, like this way. So for advanced scenarios, please use the extension's official web page, and that's it from my side. Thank you very much for watching.
Awesome, very cool demo. That's going to be a great feature for a lot of folks. I'm excited to see how folks can be, using that.
Oop, there's a audio hiccup in Patrick's side, so let's see. And it wasn't me who had the issue this time. So let's see what's actually happening. I think anyway, so we did indeed lost Patrick, but we have Alex online. Thank you, Sergei, around that one. Great demo. Alex is next on the line for doing the demos, and then we move to Joao after that one. But Alex, can you hear us, and can you unmute yourself?
Yes. Awesome. Can you hear me?
Yep, all good, and crossing fingers that everything works.
Right.
Sharing as well.
Can you see my screen? Oh, no?
Adjusting. And here we go, I can see Skype.
Awesome.
Yep.
Great, yes, it's correct. Cool. Okay, so I'll be quick. I have 2 slides, not one like Sergei, but 2. So my demo will be around page sections navigation web part. It's kind of 2 web parts, not the one. There are 2 links. Oh, by the way, yes, my name is Alex Terentiev. I'm from Sharepointalist from Los Angeles, Office Development MVP. And yeah, we will be speaking about page sections navigation today. So there are 2 links to this presentation. The first one is a blog post where I try to describe in details how exactly it was implemented. And the second one is actually the sample of web parts in PnP repository. So let's actually start. I'll show how it works first, and then we'll go to the code. So basically, I have a page on communication site, and if you can see here, we have this beautiful navigation with 3 links: home, events and countdown, and news and other web parts. If I click on one of them, we will be smoothly navigated to the section. And basically, if we go to edit page here, we have a few web parts. First of all, the navigation itself with multiple properties. The first one, the scroll behavior, we have like auto and smooth. If it's auto, then we will be like jumping to the section. For smooth one, it's a smooth scroll. The second one is navigation position. There are 2 options in here. The first one is inside section, which is selected right now. In that case, navigation is rendered in the same section where the web part was added. But there is another option, top of page content. As you can see, in that case, it is rendered on top of your page canvas, which is usually how it's used on like standard websites. The third option here is theme color. Currently in GitHub repo, we have only two themes, like light and dark, but this is from my last PR. I have added theme color as well. So if you change colors, it will change the backgrounds and a little bit the colors of fonts as well. The next one is navigation align, which is pretty neat as well. Show home navigation button is like if you don't want to have ability to scroll back to the top of the page, you can remove it. And the text for this one, you can enter it here as well. And also what I've provided, the custom CSS URL. Basically, you can reference some CSS file here and override styles for the web parts, which is pretty cool. If you, for example, want to change the size of font or something else, you can do it as well. So this is how I called it, like master web part. Also, we have two others web parts that called anchors. One of them is events and countdown, and the second one is news and other web parts. So let's change one of them. There is only one option in here if you want to show the anchor title in read mode. So if, for example, I remove it for now and publish the page, you can see that there is no title for this section, but we're still able to navigate to it, but there is no title in here. So let's go back. Also, as soon as I change the title of anchor, as you can see, it is changed in my navigation as well, which is pretty cool. So how it is implemented? It is implemented using dynamic data capability provided by SharePoint framework. So here I have two web parts, page sections navigation web parts and page sections navigation anchor web parts. So basically, these are two web parts that we are working with, and they are communicating one with each other. So basically, in my navigation web part, what I'm doing, I'm collecting all the data sources from the page. We can do that with the dynamic data provider object that has getAvailableSources method. It helps us to get all the data sources, all registered data sources from the page, and we are interested in the data sources that actually that have anchor property in it. And when we find such from each data source, we can get property definitions. And if we have anchor property, which is my custom property that I want to use, then in that case we are just pushing this data source to our internal collection to be able to work with that. And as described in the documentation, for data source, we can register some handler for property change. So basically, we are registering our method on anchor change for any changes for the anchor. And basically, in anchor change, the only thing that we are doing is rendering our navigation. Okay, and render is here. So we are creating our navigation, and what we are doing, we have an anchors collection, which is basically data sources, and from data sources we are getting this anchor property. In anchor property we have three properties: title to display the name in the navigation, unique ID just to for internal usage, let's say, to be sure that we didn't add the same anchor that has already been added, and DOM element that is actually used to provide to use scroll to functionality, out of the box functionality of DOM model. And kind of hacky thing about this page navigation is that, as you can see here, I have some IDs of DOM elements and selectors, because basically to render the navigation on top of the canvas, we can't do that out of the box, so it's kind of a bit hack. If you look at console, and this is one of my selectors that I have, so basically I'm looking for the scrollable content of the page, and I'm adding the component in it. And to add the component to this scrollable DOM element, I'm using React DOM.createPortal that actually allows us to render any element outside of like natural DOM hierarchy. So that's pretty it from page section navigation. In Anchor, what I'm doing, I'm actually register itself this web part as a data source. This is needed to be like available for page section navigation, and that's it. And rendering the title if we need it in our component. So one more thing to mention. First of all, if something has changed, we need to notify our data source manager that the property has been changed. So, for example, when you're editing the title, we are sending notify property change event, and in that case, our page section navigation can understand that the title has been changed and we need to update the rendering. So basically, that's it. Here are the links again. Two interesting things about this demo, about this sample. The first one is the usage of dynamic data capabilities, not like connecting through dynamic properties, but you can communicate between web parts directly through events, like it was in old school SharePoint. And the other thing, which is kind of hacky, but still, yes, I'm working with modern page DOM to be able to render this navigation correctly. So please feel free to ask questions about that, and thank you for your attention.
Very cool. Thank you very much for that demo. Awesome capability, and hopefully folks can check that out and learn a little bit about how you were able to implement that. So I think we're ready now for our final demo. Joao, if you want to take over as presenter.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, sure can.
Okay, thank you. I will present my screen.
And I got it. Take it away, sir.
Okay, thank you. Hello, my name is Joao Mendes. I'm Portuguese from Porto. I'm a senior consultant at Create IT. This demo is about the web part, the three organization chart web part. This web part is built based on component called the React Sortable Tree that is available on the GitHub. Here we have all the information to build the web part. Okay. Let's paste the code. The web part use the user properties to build the organization chart. Okay. Let's start for here. Web part. Let me show the properties of the web part. We have one option to select if you want to see the all organization web part or the only my team or organization. Okay, can you see this is the all organization? You can expand to be details or my team organization. Well, let's start to the code to explain. First, I get the user profile properties. I use the PnP JS library get properties for. Okay. Test if is to build the organization company chart or my team chart. If the organization chart, I read the extended manager property. Here we have all the managers that report the user reports, okay, and get the users for that manager. First, I get the properties for the manager, okay, build the personnel card properties, test if he has direct reports, and if he has direct reports, get the dependencies. For each dependencies, you get the properties, okay, test if the dependent user has direct reports, and call again the function getChildren. This is a recursive function, okay, and build the chart. If the option is to build the my organization chart, I get the manager of the current user, okay, from property, get the properties of the user, get the properties of the current user, check if as direct reports, build the dependencies, and at least get the peers for the current users. Okay. Finally, you render the tree chart. Okay, that's it.
Very cool. Thank you for that. I think that's a great example of using React and using the various libraries to get a really cool, slick UI presentation. So really great stuff. And inexplicably, with 3 demos and Vesa on the call, we have finished up a little early, so we will have time for some Q&A. I'll get back to the slides here.
That doesn't happen
time
that
for
often.
Q&A.
Yeah, exactly.
This is unprecedented in the year 2019 to get to the Q&A. Before we get there, I'll talk for a while and kill some time. That'll work. Our next SPFx JS meeting is going to be April 11th. That's in 2 weeks, Thursday in 2 weeks. I believe at that point, all the daylight savings times stuff will have reset and everything will be back where everyone expects it to be, I hope. And then the next general SharePoint Dev SIG is next Thursday, April 1st. I can only assume that meeting will really happen since it's on April 1st. We'll just have to find out what folks have planned for that.
Technically, internally, we are not allowed to actually do any good jokes, and so at least
that's true. We're not now. We're officially not allowed to do April Fool's jokes.
That is true.
Or are we?
Oh, good point. Maybe that was an April.
Maybe that's the joke. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. But no, seriously, we're not allowed to do jokes, guys. Everybody's be serious.
Okay.
All right, Q&A. Look at this, Q&A. So what do we have? Questions. 10 minutes for Q&A. Is this because of Bill Gates? I don't know where it originated from. I really don't know the backstory.
I think there's something related on people actually getting confused on is it a joke, is it a not joke, and it might be confusing for customers. So we're trying to avoid that completely. So, and considering cultural differences and the globalization, and there's always some people who might not be aware of the April 1st. So hey, it is what it is.
And some of it, I think, too, it comes from confusion, like Vesa said, with fake product announcements that people then start looking for, well, like, where is that actual product?
Yeah.
And so I think as a corporation, it's hard sometimes to distinguish, those jokes as jokes. Awesome. Glad you find I'm reading back up the comments. Thank you, Tyler, for the nice comment there. I'm glad you're finding some value in these. We do our best to provide that, so hopefully you'll stick around and look forward to you being part of the community. Google Minions Gmail issue, yeah, it all comes from stuff like that. The line's gotten too blurry over the years because I think the jokes became too slick and well produced, honestly. So, do you know why SP site can't be named AUX? No idea. I would assume something in the back end's blocking that, but I'm not. I don't myself know.
No idea either. So
yeah. Great demos. Yep, awesome demos as always. Thank you, Sergei. And so I learned I've been saying Joao because of my horrible pronunciation, and I just learned today I've been butchering that, so apologies there. So Alex, Joao, and Sergei, great demos today, so thank you. And if you want to do a demo, please, of course, reach out to us. Things are scrolling so fast. Does anyone know if the mega menu will be coming to the team sites ever?
Can I respond to that?
Depending.
Mega menus are now only for hub sites, for what I know. Don't quote me on that, but for what I know, mega menus are available to hub sites.
They are actually available in communication sites as well. So
and also in communication, because it's a hub site. Yeah, correct.
No,
communication
sites are not necessarily a hub site. So hub site doesn't have to be a hub site to be able to have the mega menu available. So
agree.
But it's designed primarily for the communication sites. And from Johanna, that's a good question. I probably need to double check that. I think it might be actually coming for team sites as well. I don't see any reasons, but technically internally in our SharePoint engineering, we are divided in a few different teams, and the communication sites team is different than the collaboration team site. So there's always like small delays when we're pushing stuff over.
So Steven's got any plans to have a command to remove Office 365 group from an existing team site? So i.e. converting a group-enabled team to a groupless team. And I don't know a groupless team site. So you want to just delete the group, but leave the team site in SharePoint. Mechanically that should be possible, but I don't know if there'll be a specific command.
I don't know if
that.
There's a commandlet either. I don't think there's a commandlet for that. Unfortunately, it's a one-way.
I'll tell you, there certainly isn't a big push to get. That's not going to be high on anybody's priority to have that command.
That is true.
Because we're working the other direction right now. Anything can add about the content type hub? From Ryan. I don't have any updates. I don't believe that's an area we're investing heavily in, if at all, right now. So it might be what's there is what's going to be there for the foreseeable future. I don't know, Vesa, if you have any additional insights there.
Oh, for the content type hub? So nothing which we can actually talk about too much at this point. So we do have a team in India who's working on a new content management systems. We talked about this one a few times, and actually you might have seen a Twitter tweet pretty recently, because my management chain, as an example, has been now visiting the India team this week. So we're looking into making that happen more efficiently in the future, but nothing which we can talk about right now. The content type hub has performance issues, so because the process of publishing an individual content type across site collections is quite enormous, so it's not really a future-proven model. So.
Cool. Sunil's asking or mentioning colony on Mars. We'll one day PnP will be on Mars. If you want to lead the PNP Mars initiative, please reach out. We'd love to have that started up. Tried to apply one of the new templates, got an error. That's not something we'll be able to get into on this call, but great, that's been reported, and I'm sure folks will be having a look at that.
Actually, it's not really reported. Benoit, I would actually request you to create a new issue and copy-paste the stack error stack to that, rather than referencing something from last October, because the versions which we're using in the provisioning service is slightly different. So we need to get the stack trace, which you're getting as an exception. Most likely, if the Office 365 Learning Center creation fails, I would first of all try another URL, a clean site collection to be created, and then two things. Ensure that you are an administrator in the app catalog, or sorry, a tenant administrator. App catalog does exist. You have access on the app catalog, and that works. Then it should actually work. But if not, we need to investigate that closer. We know for a fact that it works for maturity of the tenants, but there are certain exceptions.
Johanna is asking, but they are definitely never coming to Teams, or just not currently, which I think you were the one asking about MegaMenus, so no, I don't think MegaMenus will be coming to Teams as far as I know, but those folks...
Yeah, who never knows.
Yeah, those folks are making a lot of changes very fast, so you never quite know what's going to pop up. Updates on comm sites as root sites on existing tenants. I think there was an announcement, basically, correct me if I'm wrong, that is coming?
There has been discussions that it's coming, and it's public that it's coming. There will be it will be actually available in the, I can openly say this, it's going to be available as a PowerShell commandlet starting tomorrow's release of the SharePoint Online PowerShell, but the commandlet does not work within your tenant yet. So the commandlet will be released tomorrow as part of the latest release of the SharePoint Online PowerShell commandlets and CSAM, out-of-the-box CSAM, including the API. But the capability is not yet flighted, so it's going to be enabled slightly later, within a few weeks or so. But capability is coming, and that what it means is that you do not recreate the site in your root of your tenant. We will enable the needed features to make that site behave and look like a communication site, even though technically it is behind of the scenes still a classic theme site. So the type behind of the site stays the same, but behavior is the same as in communication sites. But that's coming in a matter of, I would say, weeks, available at least to targeted release, something like that.
Cool. Gautam asking about updates on Socket.io for SP lists. I don't believe anything we can say right now on the call, but as Vesa mentioned, the conference season is coming up, so announcements may be coming on that. Fingers crossed. Footers for team sites. That stuff, that's from Chris. What about the footers for team sites? Those, that's in the works, right? Getting everything synced up so the model works?
Well, yeah. So again, the footers are coming from communication site feature crew, and they will be first available in the communication site. This is almost like the MegaMenus are coming from that feature crew, and then eventually they will be leaking over on the communication sites. We're also looking internally in engineering now, aligning more and more on the modern pages, so not getting that kind of difference behavior between communication sites and the modern team sites. Like right now there are certain differences, and we don't want to actually that exist in the future. So it will be there at some point, let's put it this way, in the same way as it is in the communication site right now.
.NET support for CSOM.
.NET Core support.
Oh, .NET Core, there we go. Yeah. That is in the works. That is a known need, so that is in the works. We don't like groups. Is there a command to create? There should be a command to undo. Okay, don't disagree, but that's just not, on anybody's priority list at the point. Plan to upgrade PnP reusable controls to UI Fabric 6. I don't know. The answer there would be post an issue in that repo, and Elio or any of the other folks working on that might have some insight there.
And that's actually quickly on that question. That is an interesting discussion point. Immediately when we start supporting then UI Fabric 6, which is technically possible with SharePoint Framework 1.8, that would mean that then the controls are no longer reusable in SharePoint 2019. So right now they are. If we do the jump to the Office UI Fabric 6, it means that it will actually reduce the surface where your controls can be used, which in certain cases some people might not care, but it has a pretty big impact on the community. So.
Marcel asking, can we have more insight on the content type hub successor? Yeah, probably in the future, not right now. We just don't have more information right now, but absolutely, we're not going to keep it a secret when we do have more information. Well, once we can actually talk about it publicly. Mars. And I think we are at the end. So, awesome. Thank you, everybody, for joining the call. Thank you, Vesa. Thank you, Alex, Sergei, and I feel bad saying it now. Joao. Anyway, we'll fix that offline. I apologize for my awful pronunciation there. Thank you, everybody, for the call. Recording will be posted soon. Talk to you all.